Welcome into the Locked On NBA Ultimate Mock Draft. I'm Nick Angstead from Locked On NBA and Locked On Mavs. I'm joined today by Nathan Grubel from No Ceilings, Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings, and we're joined by the entirety of the Locked On NBA channel. Each one of our hosts takes control of their team. They'll be making picks. You'll hear from each one of them, why they made their pick, and then we'll hear from some of our Locked On college hosts about the player, the prospect, who they're actually getting, and what they saw in college. Nathan, I'm excited for this draft. There's a lot of things brewing, and we got some GMs talking to each other already.
How could you not be excited for a mock draft for the 2026 NBA draft class, which is projected to be one of the best that we've had in years? We certainly feel that way at the very top. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about some depth falling off as we get into the 20s, and we'll see where some of the selections end up. But I still think this is a really deep draft. I think we're going to have an entertaining first round here. I'm
hearing talks and chatter already about Milwaukee. Milwaukee is on the phones as we speak, trying to get a deal done for Giannis. Miami is involved. The Warriors are involved. There's other teams that are not picking up the phone for Giannis. Lots of talk happening already. The first pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards. Let's see what they decide to do.
With the first pick, the Washington Wizards select AJ DiBanza, high-flying wing standing at 6'9" out of BYU, because this is exactly what the Washington Wizards needed. This is an opportunity to draft your cornerstone player to make this entire rebuild makes sense. The leading scorer in all of NCAA last year in his freshman season brings a special blend of ability to get to the rim, to get to the free throw line, to operate out of the mid-range. The one knock on his game is, what will he be as a defender playing off the ball? Will his three-point shot get up to par after he shot 33% in his freshman season at BYU? But nevertheless, Washington getting a very special player here in AJ DiBanza, first overall.
AJ DiBanza, the number one pick. Nathan, this seems like this is what's going to happen in real life as well, but what do you think about the pick for the Wizards, the fit for it, and everything?
So this is absolutely what's been projected, what I would be projecting to happen in the 2026 NBA draft. I think the pick makes a lot of sense, in all honesty. This Wizards front office has done an incredible job of building out this team in terms of versatility and depth at positions where you're not necessarily, putting one player into a specific position and that's all that they can do. You have guys who can slide up and down the lineup, and AJ DiBanza at 6'9" with 7'1" in wingspan, one of the more physical prospects that we have near the top of this draft, loves to drive, get downhill, create for others, can play out of the mid post. His whole identity will be about not only just being a lead shot taker, but also helping to make everyone else around him better and help the rest of this Washington Wizards team evaluate the other young pieces on this roster, along with new veteran additions in Trae Young and Anthony Davis. So when we're talking about taking the highest upside, that also makes the most sense from a roster perspective. I love this pick in particular for the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm making a pick thinking about Trae Young or Anthony Davis in here. I'm just taking best player available, right? Mm-hmm. And that is what it seems like everybody has agreed that AJ DiBanza is. There's a few Cam Boozer holdouts that I see out there for sure. One of them maybe be next. One of them
I think you're looking at one right on the screen.
One of them may be on the desk with me right now, but yeah, I think AJ DiBanza fits with this team. You talked about guys that can slide up and down positions. Don't ask Anthony Davis to do that. He wants to play the 4, but we can see how that works. DiBanza can play either wing position in the NBA. I think he's an incredible talent for the Wizards to get, and I'm interested to see how it's going to play out. Let's hear from our Locked On College hosts on AJ DiBanza.
AJ DiBanza is the consummate team player. I believe this is a young man that is going to lend himself to playing winning basketball for whatever NBA franchise takes him. He set a goal as a youngster to become an NBA player, and all he has done since that time is pursue that dream with a relentless ambition and work ethic. While there are things he needs to work on, in particular his three-point shot, I believe that work ethic will shine through, and he will become the type of player that he endeavors to become, much like his idol, Kevin Durant. Their games are very similar. Standing nearly 6'10" in shoes, AJ has the ability to get wherever he wants on the court, whenever he wants to do it. And his unselfish nature, the willingness to set his teammates up for success, to play overall winning basketball, that is why I believe he's going to become a fan favorite, and he's going to be a favorite of his teammates as well. He has all of the skill inside of him, and like I said, the ambition and work ethic will set him apart. I believe whatever NBA franchise takes AJ DiBanza is setting themselves up for a decade plus of success. He is the type of franchise icon and cornerstone. Build your entire roster around and expect that success will follow. I think that whoever is lucky enough to land this young man has set themselves up for success for years to come with the soon-to-be superstar.
All right, the next pick, the Utah Jazz. David Locke himself coming in, making the pick. Interested to see what they're going to do here.
With the second pick of the NBA draft, the Utah Jazz select Darren Peterson of Kansas. The 6'6" shooting guard will come to Utah and fit in perfectly. This was not a no-brainer. Heavy consideration for Cameron Boozer. But when it gets down to it, a 6'6", 200-plus pound shooting guard that can shoot is almost a no-miss NBA prospect, talked about as a possible 30-point-a-game scorer like Bradley Beal, or more likely a Devin Booker type. Darren Peterson fits perfectly into where the Utah Jazz are right now with Keontae George as his backcourt mate. And while Peterson is the best talent on the board and likely to be the best player on the Jazz, and that was the best player available selected, it is also the best fit for the Jazz in their current roster with the addition of Jaren Jackson Jr. is ready to make a playoff run and maybe a deep playoff run in the upcoming season.
All right, Darren Peterson, this seems to be another consensus pick. I really like the fit with this. I think Darren Peterson works really well with the guys they have already, and I think there's a chance he's the best player in this draft, Nathan, like a high chance, because he's an incredible scorer. He can do a whole lot of things. There's just a lot of questions about him.
So Darren Peterson does have the chance to be the best pure scoring prospect that I've scouted in 15 years doing this. And that says a lot, because we've had some great players walk into the NBA right out of the gate, but they're, in terms of tough shot makers, Kansas had some moments where Darren Peterson went up against some really tough defensive schemes in the Big 12. They forced him into the shots they wanted him to take, and it wouldn't matter. He would just step in and knock them down effortlessly, even some really tough off-the-bounce looks. And that's built around Darren's game. He is a scorer first and he's a shooter second, but I will be very curious to see how he handles the rigors of the NBA from an on-ball pick-and-roll playmaking perspective. But the good news is the Utah Jazz, and Coach Will Hardy, last year they ran the third fewest ball screen possessions in the NBA per game. So, this coaching staff, this team knows how to get guys who aren't necessarily as comfortable right out of the gate on the ball, like an Ace Bailey, for example. They know how to get those guys clean looks and possessions within the offense. I think it's an easy opportunity for Darren to come in, grow short-term, and then long-term, like we can talk about, he has one of the highest runways of any prospect in this class.
And considering Ace Bailey, they don't care if you want to go to Utah or not with Ace Bailey, right? With some of his workout stuff last year, they'll go with the guy. So I don't think they're afraid to take Darren Peterson here, bring him into the fold, make it work with Will Hardy and all that. Interesting pick with Darren Peterson.
Hey, it's Derek Johnson from Locked On Jayhawks. Darren Peterson is an absolute stud if he's healthy. That'll be the big caveat with all of this, with Peterson from both a physical and mental standpoint, from some of the injuries that he suffered and has to deal with. But from a shot-making perspective, a footwork perspective, getting shots up over other guys, including length, this dude already looks like an NBA pro. He already looks like an all-star in some of his ability to knock down shots, to get those shots off, to work off of different actions, and just be a player that you can plug in right away and can give you 18 to 20 points in an NBA season. From a athleticism standpoint, it'll be interesting to see, is he more of the guy in high school or more of the guy at Kansas? I think from a defensive perspective, really underrated defender, gets a lot of steals, really active. But again, the shot making is next level. If he's healthy, this dude is a handful time all-star to me. But that's kind of the big question here. Is he healthy? And are you going to be able to get full NBA seasons out of him? Because he is an unbelievable talent.
And the next one, the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's see what pick they're going to make here.
With the third pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Cameron Boozer, forward from Duke, because he is the best player on the board. And I would argue he would have been the best player on the board if the Memphis Grizzlies were picking number 1 overall in this draft. Yes, Darren Peterson is a tantalizing talent. The superstar power is possible across the board, but I think that Cameron Boozer is somebody who is the ready-made Rookie of the Year, likely to be the first to be an all-star. He has all the tools, all the talent, the pedigree, especially on the offensive end of the court. Oh, by the way, he's the youngest prospect of the top 3. Give me Cam Boozer all day, every day.
Okay, Cam Boozer, that one's pretty obvious. This one seems like it's a match made in heaven. It feels like he's the type of player that will play for the Bulls. Or play for the Grizzlies. I can see him next to Zach Edey. I could see him playing in that system, and they kind of need somebody to build around. You think this is the best player of the draft, so this has got to be a steal for the Grizzlies, right?
When we're talking about what Memphis needs in this draft, they need an offensive identity, period, right? And there's a lot of people who would point to, well, they already drafted Zach Edey. Zach Edey has been on a permanent basis in the NBA since he came in, one of the more dominant players, but he hasn't even played 50% of available games since he's come into the NBA. Like, you can't necessarily count on him as the face of the franchise, at least not right now. Guys like Cedric Howard, Jalen Walls, they're great complementary players, but Cam Boozer, you can legitimately run an offense through him. He's not just a bully ball bruiser type of post player. He can take guys out on the perimeter. He can call for a ball screen. He can operate in isolation. He can draw two to the ball and make it plays for everyone else and make them around them better. He's one of the best transition hit-ahead passers that we have in this entire class. He can play with the ball in his hands. He can play away from it. He can spot up. You can put him in the corners, have him hit, catch and shoot threes at a very high level. Like, the ways in which you can utilize Cam Boozer on offense are essentially endless. And then that the Memphis Grizzlies in particular on defense, there may be some questions about how him and Edie fit together. One thing that won't be a question, Nick, that team's going to be ferocious on the glass on both ends of the floor. They're going to be one of the hardest teams to deal with from a rebounding perspective.
Just a physical team, put the shoulder into a guy. He does fit the type of mentality. Even a guy that went to Duke. Usually you don't think of Duke players as like super physical, but Boozer is a guy that definitely projects to be that. I'm fascinated to see how he fits. And then we need to figure out what's going on with John Morant. Like that pairing could be really fun, but we don't know what's going to happen with him going forward, if he's going to be on this team, if he's not. But they do have an interesting group of younger players for sure in Memphis.
When we start to think about the top players available in the 2026 NBA draft, Cameron Boozer from Duke University has to come to mind immediately. Taking a look at his high school basketball career, no one has done the level of winning that Boozer did. Winning Peach Jam 3 times, 4-time high school state champion, and then the winning continued going to Duke. A 35-3 season playing for his father's alma mater. Cameron Boozer made a name for himself, ultimately winning the Wooden Award as the nation's top player in all of college basketball. When you look at his game, his combination of size, skill, basketball IQ, and versatility makes him a modern NBA forward capable of doing everything at the next level: rebounding, scoring, facilitating, and defending multiple positions. Boozer checks every box. Whatever franchise drafts Cameron Boozer is getting a good one. Cameron Boozer, one of the top players available in the 2026 NBA draft. You will not regret drafting this guy.
Chicago, interesting group of younger players, and I think we're going to go chalk here. Let's see if the top 4 finally pans out.
And with the 4th overall pick in the NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls draft Caleb Wilson. We're drafting Caleb Wilson because of the mix of athleticism, raw talent, and overall upside. Despite only averaging 19.8 points per game, which did put him in the top 40 in college basketball last season, Caleb Wilson still needs to work on his jump shot. But even with that, the way that he creates in the mid-range, the way that he creates on drives, the way that he slashes to the rim, his finishing around the rim as well. Pair that with Gideon Buzelis, that gives the Bulls some solid players that they can go out in transition with. Caleb Wilson also becomes probably the best on-ball defender for the Chicago Bulls immediately. So with that pick, the Chicago Bulls add immediate defense and a player that can help and fit in their transition basketball as well. He's going to have to develop in the half court, but I trust that he will.
Caleb Wilson, I think we went chalk. I think this is the way the top 4 is going to go, Nathan. Do you agree?
I would agree. I think if those first 3 players are off the board, in my opinion, there's no other way to go than Caleb Wilson, the forward out of North Carolina. He's arguably the most explosive athlete that we have in this entire draft. He has a motor that does not stop running. He's one of the best pure defensive playmakers that we have in this entire draft class. And then when you factor in, again, his size, his length, his athleticism, and his growing on-ball skill set in particular, as the season went on in North Carolina, he became a better mid-range shooter. He became a much better standstill passer, someone who can not only make shots for himself, but make some of those other players around him better. These forwards that can do a little bit of everything are a hot commodity in the NBA. And listen, if he rounds out and adds that 3-point shot to his game, we could be talking about someone who may end up being one of the best players in this entire draft class, higher than even the 3 guys that went above him.
The fast break with Josh Giddey leading it and Buzelis on one side, Caleb Wilson on the other, like there's going to be some fun basketball in Chicago. I'm feeling good about their young core. I don't know how I project them in the next couple of years, but it's going to be fun to watch at least. And the Chicago Bulls fans deserve at least something fun to watch after they had to watch Ayo Dosunmu just destroy the playoffs, Kobe White destroy for the Hornets. Like they're reeling. And so they got a really good one here in Caleb Wilson.
100%. This team needs defense. They need motor. They need toughness. And they're going to get a lot of that from Caleb Wilson.
North Carolina's Caleb Wilson is one of the most intriguing prospects in this year's NBA draft because he checks so many of the boxes that NBA franchises covet in modern forwards. At nearly 6'10", with elite athleticism, length, and mobility, he's a disruptive defender who can switch across positions, protect the rim, generate steals, and make plays all over the floor. And not just plays, but oh my word, you got to rewind that, pick your jaw up off the floor type plays. Offensively, he's at his best in transition as a cutter, a lob threat, an offensive rebounder, and a face-up attacker. He averaged nearly 20 points and over 9 rebounds in his injury-shortened freshman season at North Carolina, where he more than held his own in games against the other 3 top players in this draft. The biggest question is the jump shot. Caleb Wilson is not yet a reliable three-point shooter, but if that develops, there's all-star potential. If not, he's still a really solid NBA player. He also needs to add a little weight to his frame. What I like most about Caleb Wilson is how much he loves life and basketball. He's a face of the franchise type young man with an insatiable work ethic and a chip on his shoulder.
Chalk for the first 4. Let's see if the Clippers can buck that trend and see who they decide to go with. Let's hear the pick from the Clippers.
With the 5th pick, the LA Clippers select Michael Brown Jr. because I feel as though he can be the best player long term. He's got more size than the Darius Acuffs. He's got an amazing shot-making ability. He can pass and finish with both hands. I feel as though long-term, he has the biggest potential of being a superstar and not just a star. He has some concerns, the back injury, but we made the same mistake with Michael Porter Jr. in 2018. Ended up picking Jerome Robinson, who's out of the league. I feel as though Michael Brown Jr. is the guy to take the Clippers forward the best.
Michael Brown Jr., this is a name that's kind of been floating around in real life, and I think the guy of this next group of guards, I think that has the highest ceiling of any of them. And there's a couple of questions about his back and about a couple other things about his efficiency and things like that. But what do you think about the pick for the Clippers?
Very interesting pick, something who all of the fans of No Ceilings at the Locked On Network who have been listening to us, since the lottery was finalized. I think we were one of the first groups that put out there that Michael Brown Jr. could be in play for the Clippers. And as you said, Nick, that's some hot smoke that's been bubbling up recently. And listen, I think it's a great pick from an upside perspective, primarily because he does have the highest ceiling of any of these guards in this class. 6'5", good size on the ball, one of the more creative playmakers from a live dribble and live pass perspective, an electric shooter from downtown, has parking lot range. I mean, I don't want to make this comp and scare anybody. I'm not trying to talk about the negatives, but in terms of the positives, when LaMelo Ball was coming into the NBA, you saw a lot of the same things about this guy can just do things on the court on offense that other players in the class simply can't do. And I feel the same way about Michael. I think he's got a great attitude, great work ethic. We had him in for a film session at No Ceilings. Tremendous kid, really understands who he is and where he needs to go as a player. I love the pick. I think it could be very nice upside swing for the Clippers.
The question about his back injury has been one that's come out a lot. It's the reason why he missed the NCAA tournament. But I heard a story from Albert from No Ceilings that he gave his mom a piggyback ride after that film session down the hall, and he was like, "Hey, my back is fine. Look at this."
Yeah, that's probably one of the best pre-draft stories we're gonna have in No Ceilings for quite some time for sure.
It's amazing, so good.
When you think of prospects with the highest floors, a player like Michael Brown Jr. comes to mind. But I argue that he also has one of the highest ceilings in this entire NBA draft class. Averaged 18 points, 5 assists per game for the Louisville Cardinals in his freshman season. 6'5" point guard that projects as an elite shot creator in the NBA. Also finished at the rim at a high level this past season. Elite athlete for his position. Great passer with a tremendous feel for the game and exceptional court vision. If he improves his decision-making and cleans up the turnovers, you're talking about an elite lead ball handler in the NBA. I firmly believe that if it wasn't for a back injury that costed him almost half the season this past year, he would be viewed as one of the top 4 to 5 prospects in this entire NBA draft class. I think he is a player that helps your team now, but also is a great piece to build around for the future. Michael Brown Jr. makes everyone around him better. Great selection for your team to draft Louisville point guard Michael Brown Jr.
Next pick for the Brooklyn Nets. There's been a lot of smoke about Nate Ament. There's been smoke that the Nets just may go completely off the board here and like pick somebody that is a little bit lower on some mock drafts. Let's see what the Nets decide to do.
With the 6th pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Keaton Wagler, combo guard out of Illinois. and looked into a lot of trade possibilities at this spot, looked into trade up possibilities, but there really weren't any there, understandably, with those top 4 teams wanting to stick and pick at those spots. And trade back opportunities, there was nothing that made sense. So the Nets stick here, and they come away with Keaton Wagler, a player who dominated during an unexpected rise to the Final Four while leading the Illinois offense. Really good size at 6'5", 6'6" wingspan. Questions about the athleticism, but that did not stop him from dominating offensively this season as a premier shooter, a high-level ball handler, an elite passer and decision maker. And despite those athleticism concerns, was still able to get downhill, was still able to create for himself and for others. So the Nets come away with a lead ball handler who should step in from day one as their most promising young prospect.
All right, Keaton Wagler, kind of a chalk pick. I like this pick. I love Keaton Wagler. I think he's a really good player, and I'm excited to see him and Yegor Joman. I'm excited to see that tandem. That's bigger guard tandem for the Nets now they can build around.
That's the thing, is that there might be some people out there who think this is a bit of a head scratcher, primarily because they saw the Nets take, backcourt player after backcourt player in last year's draft. But, to your point, Yegor Joman, he's not necessarily a pure point guard. I think he is more of a wing at the next level, someone who can be a secondary guy and can take over primary reps at times. We don't know how good Nolan Traore is going to be for the Nets, and Ben Seraph and guys like that, and Drake Powell. They're not stopping me from taking another guard here who can share the court, by the way, with any of those perimeter options that we're talking about. Someone who can operate with the ball, without the ball, another one of these lights out shooter type prospects. So you put him in these lineups alongside, Michael Porter Jr. and even a Noah Clowney, who's been getting much better as a 3-point shooter as he's developed. Now you're starting to find a little bit of an offensive identity in Brooklyn, something that, like some of these other teams at the top, desperately need.
Congratulations. Your team just drafted Keaton Wagler, the best shooting prospect in this year's NBA draft. Keaton Wagler wasn't just the best freshman in the Big Ten season. He may have been the best story in all of college basketball. This is a player who at one point was ranked as a 3-star, ranked as the number 261st prospect in his class. Fast forward to his one season, he's the Big Ten Freshman of the Year and All-American, and one of the biggest reasons that the Illini made it to the Final Four this past season. Keaton averaged 17.9 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists, while shooting nearly 40% from the three-point stripe. And, of course, who can forget the explosion at Mackey Arena, where he went for 46 points against Purdue. You know how many players have gone for 46 points against Purdue? 0. Actually, now the answer is 1. That's Keaton Wagler. But what impressed me the most about Keaton is his ability to get better each and every day. His defense started maybe a little below average, but by the end of the year, he was definitely no longer a weakness on the defensive side as well. In Keaton Wagler, you got one of the hardest working players in the draft, super high IQ player. Congratulations. You got a good one.
Desperately needing top-end talent is the name of the game for this next team, and that is the Sacramento Kings. There's a guard from a Southern college that I will be shocked if he doesn't go off the board here to the Sacramento Kings. Let's hear from him.
With the number 7 overall pick, the Sacramento Kings select Darius Acuff Jr. out of Arkansas. The Kings have been looking for a long-term answer at the point guard position, and Acuff checks all the boxes, or at least most of the boxes. The 19-year-old is a top-tier 3-level scorer and distributor with all-star potential. He fits the team's biggest need, which is point guard, but he also could develop into a leading scorer and a face-of-the-franchise type player. He needs to work on the defensive end, but that's what NBA coaches are for. The Kings got their man.
Darius Acuff, of course. This feels like a match made in heaven for these two. I feel like Acuff is the next Kings point guard that's going to take a step for them. Maybe then he ends up in the finals for a different team in a few years, like some of the past ones have. But I think this is a good pick for the Sacramento Kings moving forward.
The Kings need an on-ball creator. They need more perimeter shooting. They need someone at the point guard position. Darius Acuff quite literally checks all of those boxes. And the thing about Acuff is, I know everyone's talked about the defense, and maybe does he want to play defense? Is he going to be a target on that end of the floor? What I'll say about Acuff that gives me optimism about his potential on both ends is that Arkansas team, if he wasn't doing what he was doing in college, that team would have been dead in the water. And that's a team with some other NBA level talent and guys like Malik Thomas, and Trevon Brazile and Billy Richmond, who we'll see in next year's draft. Like that team, if they didn't have Acuff carrying the load and do what he was doing on offense, they wouldn't have been in nearly as many games and wouldn't have went on the type of run that they did in the SEC. He's a leader. He wants to win. He'll do anything it takes to win. And so that's why, from that perspective, hearing him, listening to him, and watching his tape, I have confidence he's going to end up being the player that we're all projecting him to be. And that's exactly the type of leader and talent that Kings team needs.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one going forward. I'm interested to see what this team does. They have this incredible cap crunch, which is weird to say for a team that was almost the worst in the NBA. And so they've got to make some moves. They didn't make a move with this pick, which I think is probably what's going to end up happening. But we'll see what the Sacramento Kings do. They have to do some stuff this summer.
They have 1 million trade chips, Nick. 1 million. Like, there's not a player on that roster who can't potentially be in a deal.
I just don't know the value of any of those trade picks. You can have a bunch of them. I just don't know what you're getting paid for any of those ones. Anyone want to slightly use Zach LaVine?
What's up, everybody? This is John Neighbors of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, and I'm going to tell you all about Darius Acuff. Listen, Darius Acuff is the greatest Razorback basketball player of all time. Now, did he win all the championships? No. But when you come to a single season, when you come to a next level talent, there is nobody better than Darius Acuff. So if you're an NBA team that's going to draft him, you're going to get an iconic, legendary player that is really going to elevate your game. There's really no weakness to him. Let me just start by saying that he is the first player since Pistol Pete Maravich, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of him, to lead the SEC in both points and assists. You're talking about 50 plus years. First player to ever do that. So not only can he go out and get his when it comes to scoring, but he's also incredible at being able to distribute and get other players involved. You get that. You get a guy that has his head down and going forward all the time. He never complains. He never whines. He just works. He refuses to come out of the game. Even when he's banged up, even when he needs a little rest, he refuses to do so. And this is one of the many reasons why he's going to be incredible. So I don't know exactly what he's going to do as far as his numbers go. But what I do know is that if your NBA team drafts him, you're going to get a phenomenal player that's going to be exciting for many years to come.
The Atlanta Hawks up now, and there's a couple guards still on the board. There's a couple other Michigan guys. Our current GM of the Atlanta Hawks, Locked On Atlanta Hawks, was a Michigan alumni. So let's see if he decides to go with one of these guys here.
With the number 8 pick in the Locked On NBA mock draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Houston guard Kingston Flemings. Flemings is an extremely explosive guard who can generate rim pressure on offense, good decision maker, has really intriguing pull-up shooting ability, a rugged defender, athletic, super quick, great hands, habit creation, and played for a great program at Houston that kind of accentuated all of his strengths. And with the way this mock went, Flemings was the highest rated player available on my personal board overall. And of course, it doesn't really hurt that the Hawks also have a long-term relative need for a lead guard that he can also fill. So combination of best player available and fit, but a great fit for Atlanta, and the Hawks select Kingston Flemings at number 8.
Kingston Flemings. He doesn't go with one of the Michigan guys. We got Morez, we got Yaxo, we got Adai Mara. Are you surprised that Michigan alum Brad Rowland didn't go with a Michigan guy here?
There's been a lot of popular mocks that have had Adai Mara being the pick for the Hawks, primarily because that team needs size. They need another 7-footer in the building. But I've heard some different things. I've heard that this team is looking very much at the guards. I think they want another option on the ball to take some pressure off of, guys like Dyson Daniels and Jalen Johnson. I know you're going to want the ball in Jalen Johnson's hands in particular a lot, but at some point he needs someone else alongside him to help him out. And we know Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been that guy. They need to bring back CJ McCollum. He's not technically contracted yet for next season. So bringing in another young lead guard who can grow along with some of the other young pieces on this team, someone who fits the Hawks play style in particular. This is a team that wants to play in transition. They want to get up and down. Kingston Flemings knows how to push the pace. He's speedy. He's quick. He loves getting into that mid-range area and creating shots for himself. And he'll make some other guys around him better, and he'll put pressure on the ball along with Dyson Daniels in that backcourt. Now you have two guys who love getting up under people's skins and help forcing turnovers, creating deflection. So I really like the fit in particular in Atlanta for Flemings.
One of the best combine interviews that I got to do when I was at the combine. I mean, just hearing him talk, like you just want to root for him. You just want to I'll follow you anywhere, what you do. And then he's somebody also that if the Hawks got moved on from Trae Young because of the defensive deficiencies, because of the size, things like that. Kingston Flemings has had some questions about his size, but there's been no question about his defensive engagement, his defensive intensity, and he's not going to take off plays on that end of the ball. And I think that's something that the Atlanta Hawks should really like here with Kingston Flemings. Gets into some other places. The shot is a little bit questionable, but he did shoot a good percentage. And so I'm interested to see how that works out for them. But the Atlanta Hawks going with Kingston Flemings.
Yeah, you saw it at the combine, Nick. Like, I think how he did in those shooting drills was probably one of the biggest things that a prospect could have done to help themselves that entire week. Like, I know the measurements didn't necessarily pan out how everyone wanted, but I still think if I'm grading out like top 3, top 5 guys who helped themselves at the combine, like Kingston Flemings is absolutely near that top of that conversation.
That's a fun one for that team, for sure.
In a long lineage of pro point guards under Kelvin Sampson, Kingston Flemings has been one of the most obvious ones since the day he stepped on campus, right? When he first got to campus, reports where he was breaking his way into the starting lineup coming off of a national championship game appearance that already had their point guard in it. You're going to talk about the athleticism, the vertical, the crazy quickness, the speed, the fast twitch. You might even talk about how that frame isn't quite as big at the combine as you thought it was watching him play. And if you're smart, you'll probably compare how like that just means the athleticism, quickness, the fat twitch, all that shows up that much more concretely. You might talk about the 16 points per game, the 5 assists, the big 40-point game against Texas Tech. You might talk about the low turnovers, all of it. What you need to talk about, though, and the way that Kingston Flemings is going to change his NBA team is this guy is a natural-born leader. He says, does, and makes everything right. It's almost like cliche level, the kinds of things he says, but he so earnestly believes them. He's truly, truly, truly a special young man in the way he's matured beyond his years. He says all the right things, does the right things. You're going to love having him in your market with your team to cover. Again, he's a kind of guy that can change a locker room in a positive way. Really, really special young man. Was always bound for the NBA. I don't know that anyone at Houston realized he was going to be a one and done until he got there. And then it was so clear, we got to enjoy this while it's here because this doesn't last forever. You could join for a lot longer, and I'm telling you, it's going to be a great factor in what you're building there wherever he ends up.
We have our first trade alert. We have a trade here. Today's episode of the Locked On NBA Ultimate Mock Draft is brought to you by Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of different systems together that were never designed to work together. I may have experience with this as somebody that just had to put together an entire mock draft, talking to multiple different hosts that were in charge of their teams, and then also the college hosts that were then supposed to come in and give their take as well. If you have one app for accounting, one for inventory, another for sales on your end of things, somehow none of them talk to each other, and it's so frustrating. That's where Odoo comes in. It's an all-in-one business management software system that helps bring every part of your business together in one powerful platform. I wish I had all those hosts together in one platform when I did this mock draft. Check out all the things you can do with Odoo. Brings everything together, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. That's what you don't want to do. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try it for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. We have our first trade alert. We have a trade here. The Oklahoma City Thunder are moving into this pick for number 9, and they're trading with the Dallas Mavericks. I happen to intimately know the host of that show and the GM that made this trade, and we decided to make this trade. It's the 12th pick and the 17th pick, and Isaiah Joe going to the Dallas Mavericks. So the Mavs moved down to 12 and 17. The Thunder are now moving up to the 9th pick, and they get off of the Isaiah Joe contract. This is something I think in real life, I think that they're going to look to do for sure. They've got to move off of some of these contracts. They've got Isaiah Joe. We were also offered Aaron Wiggins at a certain point, but we decided to go with Joe as another shooter instead of Wiggins. And then now the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're on the clock.
There's a number of directions that they can go. I think either way, it's going to make other fans of NBA teams mad. It's going to be one of the best teams in the league getting another really good young player. Somebody has to stop this, Nick. Like, somebody's got to stop.
Maybe we shouldn't have done this trade with them just for the sake of the whole rest of the league. Let's see what the Thunder decide to do.
With the 9th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Arizona guard Braden Burries for this Thunder roster after trading up with the Dallas Mavericks. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder, and you look at this Thunder team, they really need exactly what Braden Burries offers. One, I think he's the best defender in the class at the guard position. I think that he has an incredible two-way motor. Offensively, here's where you start to see the vision for Oklahoma City. Not only can he accompany this identity of defense first with Oklahoma City, but offensively, he can create his own shot, which is a big deal. He's a fantastic movement shooter, an off-ball player, a movement shooter that can create passing windows for himself to get shots off from beyond the arc and actually knock them down. Plus, you like what he does at the rim, his body control, his finishing skills there, coming off screens, coming off DHOs, two of his better skill sets from his Arizona days. You have the playmaking hub of Isaiah Hartenstein, so important to return to Oklahoma City for the big man. It would give him a lethal weapon with Burries, while also seeing Braden Burries be a fantastic pick-and-roll ball handler. He can play off the catch. You've seen this Thunder offense stall. Giving them another creator for himself and others is a big deal for OKC to get back to the mountaintop and win a championship, on top of the fact that you now have him on a cost-controlled rookie scale contract. That's a huge plus as well, and you look forward to what Braden Burries could do in OKC, as I think one of the best guards in a guard-heavy draft class.
Braden Burries, this is one of my favorite players in the whole draft. As the GM of this team, it hurt me to make this deal and allow them to get Burries. I just thought it was a good value trade for him, but what do you think about Braden Burries going to the Thunder?
It's interesting for two reasons. Number one, Braden Burries has been a hot riser up every single person's board who's watched the playoffs, because he's one of these guys who looks the part of a 6'4", 200+ pound combo guard who can actually play defense against real backcourt matchups in the playoffs. He has 3-level scoring chops, was actually one of the better pick and roll scorers that we had in this entire draft class at Arizona, helped his team win a lot of games. But then also, it's really funny how there's conversation around several of these teams, maybe dancing around the guard position, not wanting to go with some of these quote unquote smaller types of guards or have too many guards in your roster in general. Yet OKC keeps acquiring more guards. It's funny how that works. Like the one of the best teams in the league is going against the grain on a hardcore philosophy that some may have right now. And yet they still keep winning a lot of basketball games in the West, Nick.
Some teams, including probably my Dallas Mavericks, will be hoping that Braden Burries can come in and be their best perimeter defender, like of guards.
Yeah.
He comes into the Thunder and is now maybe like their fourth best perimeter defender. It's just a glut of riches there for OKC, and this is an interesting trade for them. They decided to do.
Braden Burries is such a talented player, and you see these comparisons to Josh Hart, to Derek White. But really what they're missing is the context of this was the number one scorer on one of the best teams in college basketball recent memory. Arizona went 36-3 and won the best conference in the country. And he scored 16 points on 50, 40, 80 splits. He scores the ball from inside and out, shot 39% from three, was one of the best finishers around the rim, sub 6'7" in the entire country, and is the best transition finisher among all guards in the country and in this draft. He's strong, he's physical, and back to Derek White and Josh Hart, you can see he cares about defense too. He rebounds, he defends, he takes on assignments such as Acuff. He defended other big-time guards in the Big 12, and he scored 16 points, where if he had played at a lesser school, probably scores more. Braden Burries, I think, is a top 7 value in the NBA draft, hiding in plain sight.
But there's an even more interesting trade that's happening. Hold on. Giannis Antetokounmpo has been traded to the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors get Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks get Jimmy Butler, whatever they're going to get of him. I guess maybe he will never enter the facility ever as he
potentially,
recovers from that injury. They get Brandon Bajemski, who I think returns to Milwaukee, and he's from there.
Yep.
4 first, the 2026 first, so it's number 11. Then they get 2028, 2030, and 2032 from the Warriors, and 2 swaps in 2029 and 2031. Giannis going to go play with Steph Curry, with Draymond Green. And those guys, this is a monumental move, Nathan, just from an NBA perspective. Does this change anything in the Western Conference for you?
I don't know if it does, because we haven't seen Giannis actually play a full season healthy in quite some time. And now the Warriors have mortgaged their entire future. Like, I know that it's always been the running joke in the West of who can get as many Kings picks as they possibly can, but not from a mismanagement perspective, but like this Warriors team with Steph aging, with Draymond aging, we don't know how many years we're going to get left of those guys. Like, is there now a more valuable commodity than that treasure trove of Warriors picks that the Bucks just picked up? Like, I think if there was any offer on the table from any of these other teams calling in, like, this is most definitely the best that the Bucks could have done. Like, this is an A+ trade for a team out East. Like, hats off to the Bucks for picking up this bounty.
I do have reports that Miami offered something around Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware. they either Jovic or another one of their young guys picks as well. You would be more interested in the Warriors first round picks than you'd be interested in that Miami group.
I want the Warriors picks because, again, I don't know what the future of that team is going to be. I think with Miami sending Giannis into that infrastructure, like, we know that team always finds ways to remain competitive. It's not just about how many picks you can get, but it's about the value of those picks moving forward, especially in a climate where we continue to have the NIL landscape in college basketball shape this draft class, and the opportunities to find young talent are now just going to be closer and closer to the lottery to mid-first round, not the back end of the first round, where a lot of those Miami picks could have potentially fallen. So that to get the Warriors picks, as many as they did, and the swaps, and another guy like Brandon Podziemski coming home to that state to be another one of these fun young combo guards, like, I think Milwaukee did a great job.
The draft guy, of course, the draft guy wants more draft picks and wants more future picks.
Can you blame me?
I can't blame you. But now that means Milwaukee has the next 2 picks. They have 10 and now 11 because they get Miami's pick. So let's go to Miami. Let's go to Milwaukee. Let's go 2 in a row. Let's see who they decide to pick with 10 and 11.
With the 10th pick, the Milwaukee Bucks select Yaxel Lendeborg out of the University of Michigan, filling what now is a glaring hole in the front court. The Bucks just need some more size. They're already team 6'4" in combo guard as it was. So John Horst and his front office looking to replenish that front court. Lendeborg, a player that can step in, help the Bucks immediately, and play multiple positions for the now rebuilding Bucks as well. And with the 11th pick, the Milwaukee Bucks, by way of trading Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Golden State Warriors, swing big, and they take Cameron Carr out of Baylor. Again, size, the important thing, and athleticism for this Bucks team. Carr, another player, may be a bit raw, but that's perfectly fine with a team that appears to be headed in a rebuilding direction. Has athleticism and a ton of size and length as well. All things that the Bucks have learned very, very recently you need in spades.
Yaxel Lendeborg goes to Milwaukee at 10, and then Cam Carr at 11. Let's start with Yaxel. What are the Bucks getting in Yaxel Lendeborg?
The Milwaukee Bucks are getting a player who I wouldn't have necessarily mocked to go in this spot in the draft, but in terms of rating his talent and on my board, I have Yaxel at 5th overall on my personal board. I think he's one of the best pure talents that we have in this class. A 6'9" forward with a 7'3" wingspan, has that triple pass, shoot, defend multiple position skill set that's so valuable to winning in today's NBA. And listen, I know that we just talked at length about how many picks the Milwaukee Bucks got back, and those Warriors assets are going to be very valuable in the future. But this is a team that doesn't control its own draft. They're not going to be in a position or have any incentive to tank out or lose any games. And so when we're talking about remaining competitive in the East, Yaxel Lendeborg fits the type of archetype and mold that you want next to some of these other guys they already have on the roster, regardless of whether Kyle Kuzma and Miles Turner and guys like that may be shipped out with the Giannis trade happening. We don't know that for sure, but you want guys who will help you remain competitive if you don't have control of your draft. And at this point, with the talent left on the board, I can't think of a better name than Yaxel.
Yeah, it's a fascinating pick there for them. Him, Ryan Rollins, you're starting to piece together some younger-ish. I think they're the same age, 24, but some younger-ish pieces.
Yaxel Lendeborg, a player who at times Michigan did not want to take off the floor whatsoever. The former number 1 player in the transfer portal. He could have gone to the NBA last year, but he trusted Dusty May, could improve his game, rise him up from being a late first rounder to being in or around the lottery. And guess what? He was right. He averaged 15.1 points per game and 6.8 rebounds, and he finished the season with 8 double-doubles on the year. He's the type of combo player that fits perfectly into the NBA. He's a big who can run the floor like a guard. He's a wing who can thrive in the backcourt, and he can play both inside out and outside in. He's coming off his best year shooting from deep. He's drained 37.2% of his three-point shots this past year. He's also stellar at getting back on defense. He averaged 1.2 blocks per game and 1.1 steals per game. But above all of that, he is also a great teammate. He quickly ingratiated himself as a leader in the locker room. But the biggest compliment that I can give Yaxel Lendeborg is that Michigan would not have won the national championship without him. The Wolverines survived games where Morez Johnson disappeared. They survived games where Adai Mara disappeared. But when Yak struggled, The team did as well. He's built like a football player, but he's athletic like a gymnast. The guy can absolutely put the team on his back, and he's unselfish enough to facilitate, sometimes a little too much. But there is nothing that I do not love about Yaxel Lendeborg.
Now let's talk about Cam Carr, the next pick for Milwaukee. This is a name that's also kind of like rising up some boards right now.
I mean, he really helped himself in the combine, seemingly setting the nets on fire, especially in that first scrimmage. He looked unstoppable out there, 6'5" wing with a 7'1" wingspan, one of the better defensive playmakers at that position in this draft class, had a really, really strong block rate for a wing because he can just get anywhere he wants to on the floor on defense. He can cover so much ground, has great footwork. He's very quick, speedy, has great lateral agility. And then on offense, he's one of the top 5 shooters that we have in this class, potentially a top 3 shooter. So when we're talking about a guy who has a little bit of work to do in terms of developing as an on-ball player, as a playmaker, but still has a tremendous shooting profile, both off the catch, off the move, and then how he can potentially impact the game on defense. We're talking about the type of player who has a pretty good floor from what you would project forward and being valuable in the playoffs to, if he really rounds out some of those other offensive skills, he could end up as like a top 5, top 10 player potentially in this draft. I'm not going to rule that out for someone with his athleticism and tools.
How many players could potentially be a top 5 player at this point? I think
but Nick, that's what I'm talking about. That's why this draft is loaded through the lottery.
Crazy.
Like all the conversation has been on the top 4 guys for a reason. But there's going to be so much buzz when you see a lot of these players in action, in the coming months at Summer League. And there's going to be a lot of buzz for these teams being really excited about the types of talent that they're bringing in the building.
Cameron Carr is going to be one of the biggest steals in the 2026 NBA draft. Someone that is already in contention is going to grab him at the end of the first round, and they're going to feel like they won the lottery. Cameron Carr comes in as a guy who was just under 19 points a game at Baylor last year, and his jump from his time at Tennessee to Baylor was immaculate. And his actual physical jump is even better. This is a guy with arms that stretch out across the world. He's got an over 7-foot wingspan. He shoots over 40% on catch and shoot threes and has the chance to be an elite 3-and-D role player in the NBA. Those long arms create a ton of havoc. He is a lob threat. He is a shooting threat. He got better as a three-point shooter as his career went on. His dad played in the NBA. He's got all the athleticism in the world. He's got a defensive acumen, and he's becoming a better and better shooter. Cameron Carr, elite role player, NBA, book it.
It's a great draft to have multiple picks in it. This next team got multiple picks in this one. The Dallas Mavericks. Let's see where they go at 12 after the trade with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
After a trade with Oklahoma City at pick 12, the Dallas Mavericks select Morez Johnson Jr. out of Michigan. I love Morez Johnson Jr. He is a big that can play the 4 or the 5. He can switch on the perimeter and guard some wings and guards. I believe in his shot at the next level. I think he'll be able to shoot the 3. Endless motor, rebounder, shot blocker. I mean, you name it, Morez Johnson has it. And I think in Dallas, when you're looking at the front court next to Cooper Flagg, you need healthy bodies and you need size. And I think Morez Johnson Jr. gives you that and a lot of positional versatility with the rotation.
Morez Johnson, talk about a guy that did himself some favors at the combine, man. He impressed me so much at the combine. His lateral quickness, the way he was doing those agility drills, his shooting too. I think that he's a better shooter than what he showed at Michigan. He can fit. I think he can play a 4 and a 5. What do you think about Morez going to the Mavericks?
I mean, the Mavs just drafted a guy who I thought OKC could have been moving up to get and make sure that other teams didn't get him. I thought he would have been a great fit.
Thunder.
I thought he would have been a great fit in OKC, but I also love the Dallas fit. There's been a lot of Mavs fans who have been talking and on social media about why would you go after a 4-man who doesn't necessarily have proven shooting pedigree alongside Cooper Flagg and Derek Lively. But we just saw Morez Johnson win a championship playing alongside of Daimar and Yaxel Lendeborg, another jumbo front court. Now you have a player who has a much higher ceiling and skill set in Cooper Flagg with a player like Derek Lively, who, let's not forget, maybe it's because players haven't necessarily watched a ton of him in a while since like his rookie season when the Mavs went on that run, but he's a really good passer at the center position, can play out of that short roll, can play out of the dunker spot. I think you can find ways to utilize him and Morez Johnson together. And if all of the shooting indicators that we've seen from Morez pop, and he is like a legitimate 3-point shooter in the NBA, now you're talking about retaining that spacing while also acquiring arguably the best defensive player in this entire draft in my position, just because of how many different ways in which you can utilize him, how many places he could switch. He can step out on the guards. He loved defending backcourt matchups, particularly in the NCAA tournament. He can play the 4 or the 5. Like, his versatility, his strength, his athleticism, that's what you want out of a player if you're trying to win deep in the playoffs nowadays.
I feel great about this trade. I feel great.
If I had Morez on my team, I'd feel ecstatic.
I feel great. The Mavs aren't done yet.
Perhaps my favorite player of Michigan's championship team last year was former Illinois transfer Morez Johnson Jr. No, it's not just because he mean-mugged Dusty May in every post-game interview of the season. Well, that is kind of part of it. He is a character. But Johnson was a real-life Cinderella story, going from being such a little-used bench player in Champaign to being a starter who absolutely thrived in Ann Arbor. The big man, he's 6'9", but you never know it watching him play. He looks like a 7-footer out there, especially with the aggressiveness that he plays with. Just look at one of his putback jams. I mean, it's insane. Rez averaged 13.1 points per game and 7.3 rebounds. He was an absolute killer on the defensive side, clogging up lanes, frustrating guards and forwards alike. Michigan really hoped it could get him back for another year, but with his talent and athleticism being off the charts and having shown a little bit in the postseason run, as well as the combine, it's no surprise that he flew all the way up those draft boards. He can be a little streaky, disappearing for stretches, going cold from the floor one game, but the next or a couple games later, he's likely to drop about 15 or 20 on you in the first half and then call it a day. So he needs a little bit more consistency as such, but he is a player who should absolutely thrive in the NBA.
The next team, the Miami Heat at 13. They keep this pick. They didn't end up trading it to the Bucks. Let's see where they go.
With the 13th pick, the Miami Heat select Labaron Philon out of Alabama because we didn't get Giannis. We were supposed to trade this pick for Giannis, but our conversations with Locked On Bucks fell through. They ended up trading Giannis to the Golden State Warriors, and so we are left having to make a selection that we didn't really anticipate making here at number 13. Still, Philon was the easy choice here. He has the upside to be a lead guard in the NBA one day, a proven track record for growth at the collegiate level, and he checks all of those Heat culture boxes too. Everything that you hear about this guy is how he's a great leader, has a strong work ethic, all the things that we like to hear. And with Hero and Powell's future uncertain, we like the chance to fill a need and then get some upside too.
Labaron Philon, what do you think about this guy going to Miami? Is he ready for what Pat Riley and them do with players in Miami?
Listen, I think he's very much a Heat culture type of player. Like, this dude is a hard worker. He loves doing the little things. He'll crash for offensive rebounds. He'll dive for loose balls. He'll score over you, and then he'll talk trash to you going the entire other way down the court. Like, he is a Heat guy through and through. And I know that they just drafted a young point guard in Kasparis Yakashonis last year, but as we've seen in the playoffs, you can never have too many lead ball handlers. And I think grabbing a guy like Labaron Philon, who shores up a depth need in the short term, while also potentially, being one of the better point guard options from this class when we look back 3 to 4 years from now, I think Miami did really good with the pick here.
This is a really interesting fit for them going forward. They're just getting as many guards and ball handlers, it feels like, as they can get. And I'm curious to see how he projects, because he's kind of that next guard after this next group of guards. And I think that there's a case that he could eventually be as good as any of those guards or better than them. And we're saying he's the second best guard after Peterson in this whole draft.
Absolutely. I think a lot of these point guards, there really isn't an order set. Like, a lot of these guards that we're discussing for this draft have ranges from, at pick 9, where Dallas was, where OKC ended up, to all the way down to where Denver is at 26. Like, somebody's going to fall, and there's going to be a legitimate reaction to, I really thought this guy could have went higher, but other positions, other teams drafting and trying to fill different needs, they're going to push some of those guards down, and it's going to be crazy to see where some of these guys go on draft night.
Jimmy Stein from Locked On Bama talking about Labaron Philon. He had a phenomenal sophomore season at Alabama. He was a really good, impactful freshman, turned into a completely different player though as a sophomore. He's one of the very best players in the SEC production-wise. His transition to the NBA is going to be easy. He plays at a high level of speed. You can watch Labaron Philon and easily foresee him in the NBA because of the pace at which he plays. He's a good ball handler. He became an improved shooter at Alabama. He can really get to the basket. Not too much of a highlight dunker type guy, but boy, he can score at the basket even against bigger guys. It'll be interesting to see in the NBA, is he going to play exclusively the point? Is he going to play some off guard? He's capable of doing both of those things. He's also a very good rebounder for a guard. He's also a very good defender. He's just an athlete with a high level of basketball skill. Look for Labaron Philon to go in the first half of the first round.
The Charlotte Hornets now up At number 14, let's say who they pick.
With the 14th pick, the Hornets select Adai Mara, center out of Michigan, because he's the best player and you guys should have taken him earlier. What are you guys doing? We'll take it. We appreciate it. Did you not see the 9-9 standing reach, the passing in the Final Four, the big reason as to why Michigan won the championship? We need a little bit of a center upgrade, some offensive centric, some hub at the high post, and a rim protector. We got him with the 14th pick.
The Hornets have a big hole at center. They fill it here with Mara. I think this is a great pick. I'm typically anti-grabbing the falling star, but I just simply have no idea why Mara was sitting here. Go blue.
Adai Mara, the last Michigan guy off the board here that we expect to go in this first round. This is an interesting one for me because they have Moussa Diabate. Everybody's doing the Moose stuff here in Charlotte. And then you have Ryan Kalkbrenner they just picked as well. What do you think about this pick?
I think this is just grabbing the best player available at this point. Like regardless of, how many minutes he's going to get in Charlotte or what his specific fit is on this team. I think adding front court depth with any team is very, very smart. Getting a guy like Mara, who still has plenty of room to grow as a 7'3" player, 7'6" wingspan, 9'9" standing reach. We know all the physical tools are awesome, but I think he's got a good feel for the game. I think he can really pass, especially in different handoff and short roll types of situations from the top of the floor. We know that if he gets established post position, he has soft touch. He can be more of a scorer around there. And then if he adds that 3-point shot, if he's able to space the floor, like we're talking about another very valuable type of player who probably isn't playing 30 to 32 minutes per game, but in a front court with, Moussa Diabate and Ryan Kalkbrenner, he doesn't have to. He can split touches, share time, and I think he could be very valuable for Charlotte moving forward because they just need size. They need size, they need rebounding, they need toughness. I think Adai Mara can bring that.
What can you say about Adai Mara besides his height? Well, you probably should start there regardless. At 7'3", the former UCLA Bruin came to Ann Arbor and found his calling quickly. It's amazing to think he played just 13 minutes a game in Westwood, considering how vital he was to Michigan's championship run this past year. He was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and he gives you a little bit of everything, honestly, on both sides of the court. He's going to block your shot. Really no way around that. He averaged 2.6 per game and has had as many as 6 blocks in a single contest. That was against Penn State this year. And 8 times he had 4 more blocks this season. 3 times, 5 blocks. He's an offensive weapon also, right? Like he's not just a guy who will get you something on defense. Lob passes from one baseline to the next became a calling card for the Wolverines. You'd see it often, and he would come down with the easy alley-oop because he doesn't even really have to jump to touch the rim. That's how lengthy he is. He's absolutely hard to box out. He's super physical despite his wiry frame, and he's crafty when it comes to passing the basketball. But that is kind of the one thing. With some of those passes, there's a little bit of a risk reward. He can be a little bit turnover prone. However, he's got a solid mid-range shot, and even went from being a liability at the free throw line to being absolutely reliable and dependable down the stretch. So he's a force at Michigan. I have no doubt that he's going to be a force in the NBA as well.
Fascinating pick for me. This next one for the Chicago Bulls. I'm interested to see where they're going to go now.
And with the 15th overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls are going to select Jaden Quantins. And the reason why we're going to select him is the Bulls need front court depth. They need a center. And while there's major injury concerns with Jaden Quantins, if he gets over those injury concerns, what he brings as far as rebounding, elite rim protection as well, the ability to finish in transition, he fits the style that the Chicago Bulls like to play in. And if the injury concerns isn't working out, he still could be a really decent backup center. So I think bet on the upside. Jaden Quantins has one of the best overall upsides in this draft, even despite the injury, and the Chicago Bulls can need that upside.
Jaden Quantins. Okay, the injuries aside, let's say he comes back, he's ready to go. We did see him participate at the combine. Him and Caleb Wilson defending the rim with the arm, Jaden Quantins may have the longest arms I've ever seen in person watching him at the combine. The two of those guys, it's going to be a terror at the rim. Just the big question about him is the injuries.
For sure. I mean, Jaden Quantins, you mentioned it. He's 6'9", 253 pounds, 7'5" wingspan were his measurables at the combine. And I know I said Morez Johnson is the best defensive player in this draft, by my opinion, by my board. If Jaden Quantins is healthy, he could absolutely take over that spot from Morez Johnson. The question is, we just don't know what his health is going to be, what his medicals look like. But for a team like Chicago that has multiple first-round picks, someone who had a top 4 pick, where we're projecting they already hit a home run getting Caleb Wilson, this is exactly the type of spot where you take a swing on someone like Jaden Quantins.
Man, that combo, and then him getting out and running too with all those with those guys too. Man, that's gonna be a fast. That's a fun team to watch. I'm excited to see where they're gonna go.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one underrated aspect with someone like Quaintance and Caleb Wilson sharing the front court is if Quaintance is healthy, I know he can't necessarily shoot, but he can handle the ball a little bit. He can take somebody off the bounce. And now you're talking about, having him and Wilson and Modest Buzelis, so many guys with size and athleticism who can dribble, handle, and take guys off the bounce depending on the mismatch. Like, we're talking about a very, very fun team who wants to play up and down basketball in Chicago.
You hear that, Bulls fans? Sounds like hope. Sounds like hope on the horizon.
Whichever team drafts Jaden Quaintance is getting one of the best defenders in all of college basketball. Hi, I'm Lance Dahl, host of the Locked On Kentucky podcast. While JQ didn't necessarily get the chance to showcase his skills during his time in Lexington, he is still one of, if not the best defender in all of college ball. At his freshman season at Arizona State, his block rate was insane. His rebounding percentages were incredibly solid as well at 6'10", 255. His wingspan is unlike anything you've ever seen, and he uses it to dominate the competition on both sides of the ball. Now, yes, he needs some polish and some work on his face-up game offensively, but defensively, he is a menace. He is versatile. He can switch 1 through 5 because of his length and his athleticism. There does need to be a note here about his explosiveness, though, because he is coming off of a knee surgery, repairing his ACL. That was what held him out at Kentucky, but still, whichever NBA team ends up drafting JQ is still getting a prospect with a lot of upside defensively, and then maybe some offensive game to come alongside that down the road as well.
Today's episode of the Locked On NBA Ultimate Mock Draft brought to you by Game Time. There are more live events than ever before. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to do. It's actually getting the tickets and going to that thing. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should. I may have been talking to a host today that used a different ticketing site, gasp, and was on the phone with them for like an hour because he couldn't get tickets to the event he wanted to go to see them kick the ball across the field into the net. All kinds of problems with other sites. Game Time, I've not had issues. I've used Game Time a lot to go to Dallas Wings games here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I've used it to go to comedy shows, concerts, things like that. I love that I see the view from my seat. I know exactly what I'm going to pay at checkout. There's no surprise fees. Don't surprise me with fees. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON, locked on, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Let's see what the Grizzlies decide to do at 16.
With the 16th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Nate Ament out of the University of Tennessee. And why do the Grizzlies do such a thing? It's an upside swing. Ament at number 10 to the Bucks seems a little bit early. Ament at 6 to the Brooklyn Nets has been rumored. Super duper early. Ament at 16 seems like pretty good value to me. We're talking about a young basketball player who showed flashes of significant skill while he was at Tennessee. In the right situation where he's not asked to do too much, I think he could thrive. Alongside Cam Boozer, allowing Cedric Coward to be the 2 guard. You've got Ament at the 3, Boozer at the 4, and Zach Edey at the 5. That's one of the biggest and longest basketball starting 5s in the entire NBA.
Nate Ament. Okay, you said it earlier with the Bulls. If you get somebody at the top that is a sure thing, you can take a swing with another player. Do you think this is a swing for them with Nate Ament?
It's definitely a swing, but it's a calculated swing because with Memphis in particular, Nate Ament has some real upside as an on-ball scorer, but he's not there yet. I think there's still ways in which they're going to need to round out his skill set from a shooting perspective, get him a little bit more comfortable, operating off the dribble, developing some counters, being able to find different passing windows when he does have the ball in his hands. But from an off-ball perspective right now, he's in a good place where he doesn't necessarily have to be asked to do a lot because guess what? They found their offensive engine in Cam Boozer. They have another guy who's going to command touches in Zach Edey. They have some guys who can take pressure away from Ament. And then this is a rebuilding situation. You're not expected to win right now. He'll be able to develop at his own pace. And if he hits, talk about size in that front court. Nate Ament being 6'10", Cam Boozer 6'9", 250, Zach Edey 7 foot plus, near 300 pounds. That's the type of size and depth that you need at those positions in the Western Conference to win.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Eric Kane, host of Locked On Vols, and Nate Ament is going to be a star in the National Basketball Association. What a team is going to get from Nate Ament is a guy that is still just growing into his frame, right? 6'10", about 215-ish, so long, so athletic. Can score at all 3 levels on the court. Is an underrated shooter from downtown, in my opinion. But his ability to, in games where he doesn't have his best stuff, his ability to get to the free throw line and convert at the charity stripe, it was phenomenal for Tennessee this year. Every team game plan against him, he was the best player on the court 99% of the time that Tennessee, those teams that they had on their schedule. He scored 29 points, career high on 3 separate occasions. He's a good facilitator as well, had 5 assists in 3 different games. Shot the basketball at a high volume when Tennessee needed him to. An injury towards the end of the season really kind of slowed him down some, but still, he came back out and had some phenomenal performances for Tennessee on the Elite 8 run in the NCAA basketball tournament. A 6-time SEC Freshman of the Week, all SEC caliber freshman Nate Ament is going to be a star in the National Basketball Association.
The next team, the Dallas Mavericks, back up this pick that they got from the Thunder in that trade. Let's see what the Mavs decide to do. I have no clue.
After a trade with Oklahoma City at pick 17, the Dallas Mavericks select Abuka Okori out of Stanford. Dallas could go guard with their first pick in the draft, right? And in this scenario, they take Morris Johnson Jr., and this is where they get their guard at pick 17 in Abuka Okori. Okori gives you that creation. He gives you that scoring. He gives you a long-term possible replacement to Kyrie Irving, and he can play alongside Cooper Flagg, a lot of other guys on this team. There's a lot of analytical models that back Okori. Okori is the pick for Dallas right here. They get their guard.
Abuka Okori from Stanford. Nate, just tell me I did a good job.
I listen, Dallas Mavericks finding value with both of those picks, getting a front court player who will legitimately build a defensive identity with Cooper Flagg and Derek Lively for the future. Now getting a point guard who can play alongside Kyrie Irving, in my opinion, for some stretches. Like Kyrie has shown in his career that sometimes he's at his best when he's just on the court to score, and he doesn't have to worry about sending everyone else up to operate. Abuka Okori has the type of athleticism, that blow-by speed, and that ball handling ability to essentially get wherever he wants to on the court. He's a water bug. He can get in the middle of the floor, collapse defenses, kick it out to open shooters and scorers. Like, that's exactly what Dallas needs at this position. My only caveat, Nick, with this pick in particular, I would have much rather preferred a guard who I had more confidence in to shoot from the outside than Okori to operate off of Cooper Flagg when he had the ball in his hands, but there's still different ways to utilize guys off the ball, get them moving towards the basket, get them cutting and in movement to operate off some of those Cooper Flagg passes. So I think it was good value getting a talent like Okori at 17, who is trending more towards a lottery selection right now. And we've already seen some mocks have him inside the top 10 potentially.
I will say, me and my co-GM, Isaac Harris, we did have a conversation about this pick, and we were split on it. And so then I hired a firm. I hired a draft firm to help me make the decision, and it may have been the No Ceilings guys. It may have been all of you that told me to pick a Corey instead of Bennett Sturts or Dalen Swain. That's maybe the 3 names we were talking about at that point. But I think Sturts would have been a good pick here. But a Corey, I think, is a great foundation to bring in for the Mavericks, and so that'll be they have one more pick here, so we'll see what the Mavericks do. Let's see what the Charlotte Hornets decide to do. Their last pick here at 18.
With the 18th pick in the Ultimate Mock Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Hannes Steinbach out of Washington because I said so. There was a lot of debate in the Locked On Hornets war room about what this selection was going to be. I think Walker and producer Evan were in the Alan Graves camp, but I said I had already given my rose to Hannes Steinbach. It had to be the pick. Yes, that we just took Adai Mara, but I think that Steinbach is going to be a perfect addition. His elite rebounding, positional size, limited athleticism, fine. They just took Con Knipple, who had limited athleticism, and look what he did last season. I love this pick. I love Hannes Steinbach. I think he has star potential.
I was going to go a different direction, but there's no drama in the front office here, okay? I did sign off eventually on Steinbach. It gives you a different flavor of a big man that you don't have. What was it, Doug? The last shooting center that we had on this team was Spencer Hawes like 10, 15 years ago. Oh. Finally, we have somebody with that capability. The rebounding right next to Moussa Diabate, nobody else has a chance at grabbing a rebound. I like the fit here in Charlotte, so that's why we go Steinbach.
Hannes Steinbach. This is a name that I really wanted to pick for the Mavericks just solely because he's from Würzburg, Germany, and that him and Dirk, that Dirk knew him when he was growing up, and he said he visited his family farm. He told us that at the Combine. Mm-hmm. I wanted that just for the vibes, but what are the Hornets getting with this pick?
They're getting a 6'11" forward who continues to develop and round out his skill set game by game. At Washington, when he first started his college career, he looked much more like the FIBA guy who was dominating on the glass, really good interior finisher. But as the season went on in Washington, was continuing to round out those ball skills, was becoming more of a face-up threat. And if he really is going to be a shooter at the next level, now we're talking about another one of these jumbo front court players who can share the floor next to another big man, who can handle a little bit, who can shoot, who can reliably finish. And if you're going to play a double big lineup in the NBA, one of the reasons you're going to do it is to own the glass. Get a dominant defensive rebounder, get some nastiness in that lineup, take a lot of the pressure in terms of crashing the glass away from the perimeter trio in Charlotte that we know of, LaMelo Ball, Con Knippel, and Brandon Miller. Let them go score and do their thing. Let guys like Adai Mara and Ryan Kalkbrenner, Hans Steinbach crash the glass and make plays on the defensive end.
I'm Roman Tomashoff with the Locked On Huskies, and whatever NBA team drafts Hannes Steinbach is getting an absolute monster on both ends of the floor. From the first day this guy showed up, Washington's coaching staff was comparing him to Dennis Rodman on the glass, and he absolutely showed that he was worth that comparison and then some throughout the season. 18.5 points per game, 11.8 rebounds per game, and I don't think that even comes close to telling the whole story of just how impactful this guy was for Washington throughout the year. And it was really fun to watch him grow as well. He got bigger, he got stronger. He was somebody who just showed such a high level understanding for the game of basketball from day one, and it goes so far just beyond his post presence, his ability to step back and shoot the three ball as well, 34% last season, so we can certainly stretch the floor a little bit for you as well. Averaged over a block and a steal per game last year as he made it onto the all Big Ten freshman team and all Big Ten third team. This is a guy who can absolutely be a franchise changer in every way. His basketball IQ is something that I really can't even begin to describe how impressed I was, where Washington's coaching staff would call him the best passer on the team at so many different points last year. Hannes Steinbach is a beast.
The interesting pick for the Hornets. For the Raptors, they're up here at 19. Let's see where they decide to go.
With the 19th pick in the Locked On NBA mock draft, the Toronto Raptors select Bennett Sturtz, the guard from Iowa, because the Toronto Raptors really need guard play. They have Scotty Barnes and Colin Murray-Boyles as the basis of their team going forward. Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett are on the wings. We'll see how long they're around. Emmanuel Quickley's a good player. He's a guard, but he's kind of the only one who can, do the dribble, pass, and shoot thing in the Raptors' backcourt. And so Bennett Sturtz, a guy who can very much dribble, pass, and shoot, who probably stands to benefit from a scaled-down burden than what he had to frankly endure being the only guy who could do anything for Iowa this past season. I think he stands a chance of being a very nice on-ball, off-ball combo guard, playing off of and in the orbit of Scotty Barnes and Colin Murray-Boyles. So he is the addition here for the Raptors as they look to upgrade their backcourt juice.
Bennett Sturtz. They get some shooting in Toronto now, Nathan.
They definitely need someone who can operate off of ball screens, play alongside guys like Scotty Barnes and Colin Murray-Boyles. They're two real core centerpieces in that dribble handoff game. I think he can play some great two-man game with those guys and then operate away from the basketball as one of the better catch-and-shoot players we have in this draft. But just get guys in general who can dribble, pass, shoot. They're low mistake, and they can play their position well, and I think they're getting that in a guy like Bennett Sturtz.
So you've landed yourself Bennett Sturtz, the former Hawkeye star, after 1 year in Iowa City, taking Iowa to heights they hadn't seen in decades. Their first Sweet 16 since 1999, their first Elite 8 since 1987. The kid is a winner, and that's where you start all levels of the collegiate. He has been a big-time winner. A playmaker, had the ball in his hands a whole bunch throughout the course of his season. He is going to be a guy that is going to be impactful, not just what you see shooting the basketball, that's at an elite level, but as a playmaker, a facilitator, a guy that's going to get everybody involved and find people in the right spots. The other part about Bennett Sturtz that maybe is a little bit under talked about, he is a much better athlete than he realizes. A couple of in-lane dunks that open some eyes this season. You got a good one. You got a winner. You have yourself Bennett Sturtz. Be excited about it. I'm Trent Condon from Locked On Hawkeyes.
All right, the Spurs are up there currently in the NBA Finals as we're doing this draft. Well, let's see where they decide to go with the 20th pick.
Yes, hello, Matthew Tynan, Locked On Spurs, and general manager of your San Antonio Spurs. Sorry, Brian and RC, it has been a good run. Listen, it's been hectic out here in New York, as you may have seen on the internet, and this finals run is taking a lot out of us. So, to run our draft process, we have hired the reasonably well-respected Tyler Rucker of No Ceilings NBA podcast and newsletter. We trust him to make the right selection for us. Tyler, please take it away.
Matthew, what an honor. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to run this show. But hey, with the 20th pick in the Locked On mock draft, the San Antonio Spurs are going to select Chris Sacramento Jr., the big man of Houston. Sacramento is an unbelievable rebounder. The Spurs need upside. They need someone that also can give them value at this selection. And I think with the Spurs probably going to contend for a while in the NBA Finals, hopefully, I think Sacramento is a gold find here at 20.
I didn't know this was an option, Nathan. I didn't know you could hire. I guess maybe I hired a
you
firm.
Did.
As like,
you used No Ceilings as consultants.
You as a consultant. I didn't know I could just hire you to make the pick for me, so I'm off the hook. Tyler Rucker making the pick for the Spurs. What do you think about Chris Sacramento and his decision? Actually, wait. You have to say good things about this because Rucker made the pick, right? So, are you even unbiased as an analyst here?
I don't have to say good things about Rucker, just to be entirely honest with you. I really don't. But in this particular situation, I am not the biggest Chris Sacramento fan, but I think for the Spurs, it makes a lot of sense because they don't need Chris to contribute immediately right out of the gate. They have Luke Cornett at a backup center spot. Give Chris some time to round out his offensive skill set, show him how to set better picks and operate better as a roll man. We know he'll provide rebounding presence. We know that he wants to be an outside shooter. If more of his package comes together in terms of doing the big man things, along with more of the perimeter ability, then we're talking about another one of these interesting guys alongside Wemby, who also has insane measurables, 6'11", 7'5" wingspan, can jump out of the gym. Like, I just want more nasty from Chris Sacramento. Like, his block rate was alarmingly low for someone with his measurables. Like, I want you to be able to provide physicality on the block some shots, set hard screens, roll, do all those things before you worry about how many jump shots you can hit. I think they can bring more out of that in San Antonio because he'll have the time to develop.
Chris Sacramento was one of the highest touted recruits to ever come to the University of Houston, and now he's naturally heading off to the NBA. I think one of the most impressive things to me about Chris Sacramento is not necessarily that he had almost a double-double average in college, 9.5 points and 8 rebounds, that he had 14 games with over 10 rebounds, or that those numbers got better as the season went on and the opponents got more difficult and challenging. I don't think it's necessarily that he locked down AJ DeBonsa in that game, in moments of that game against BYU, or that he fought for multiple offensive rebounds and stretches in single possession, saving games in the Big 12 tournament or things like that. I think what's out to me about Chris Sacramento, and what tells you a lot about him, the person drafting him, is that this is the kind of guy that was a 5-star one-and-done prospect and could have gone anywhere in America. And he chose to play for a coach in Kelvin Sampson that was going to make him work for everything. A coach was going to make him dive on the floor for loose balls after practice to work on it. A coach was going to make him hit the weight room. A coach was going to make him spend hours and hours and hours shooting at a basket with a bubble on top of it to work on finding the ball afterwards, rebounding it. A guy that was truly going to make him special in ways that he needed to. I know he's a project. I know you're picking him probably mid-first round. If you got him later than that, you got to steal. I think the guy's upside is phenomenal. The athleticism is through the roof, and the work ethic and character are higher than all of that. I think he's a really special player. I'm really, really excited to cheer him on at the next level.
Interesting pick for them. The Pistons are up next at 21. Let's see where they decide to go.
21st pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Allen Graves out of Santa Clara. He is 19 years old. He's a younger prospect. He's also a bigger forward, a power forward, big wing type that can shoot pretty well from deep. He shot 41% from deep in his one season at Santa Clara. If you look at the Detroit Pistons roster, that is the one area in which they're trying to attack. They've been linked to Michael Porter Jr. They've been linked to Trey Murphy III. They want a bigger wing that can shoot threes. If they can get it through the draft, it would be a good hit. Allen Graves can fit that. I think this is who they pick.
Allen Graves. This is like an analytics darling type player. Tell me, I don't understand it though. Tell me what I'm missing with Allen Graves here.
I'm not necessarily the biggest Allen Graves guy either, but there's some very smart people who you'll talk to who have like top 12, top 10 grades on someone like Graves. He's a 6'9" forward, has good size, good strength, can play out of the post, can find guys off of doubles, can hit shots from the outside. His defensive playmaking numbers were arguably off the charts for a player who wasn't necessarily expected to do a ton coming into his freshman season, wasn't a highly regarded prospect coming in, but nevertheless really did a great job coming off the bench and helping Santa Clara play some winning basketball. I think he has good feel for the game. His 3-point shot to me is his most important aspect. I don't necessarily buy that he's going to be this awesome post player from day one. I think he might move a little bit slow. I question some of how good the ball handling is, but if he can shoot for 36, 38% from 3-point range out of the gate, he's going to end up being a very valuable player who has good tools and knows how to play the game at a high level.
All right, this next pick, the Philadelphia 76ers, they got some holes to fill in that roster. Let's see where they go with the 22nd pick.
And with the 22nd pick in the NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Luigi Suego.
All right, I know what you're thinking. Yes, Luigi did decide to withdraw. Yes, this did happen like a week after we did this mock draft. We weren't going to redo the whole thing. But look at Mark Farzetta, the Italian himself. He was so excited to take Luigi. Let's just give him this moment, and then we can just all move forward and think that the Sixers would have taken somebody else.
Out of the Serbian Adriatic League by way of Northern Italy, 7'3", 289-pound center coming to Philadelphia. Keith, this is who we're taking to help back up Joel Embiid.
Today's episode of the Locked On NBA Ultimate Mock Draft brought to you by Quo. Missed calls and slow follow-ups can cost businesses more than they realize. Every unanswered call, forgotten text, or delayed response could mean a missed opportunity, a lost customer, or revenue left on the table. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. It's spelled Q-U-O, the business communication system built so you never miss a call. Quo brings your team's calls, texts, and customer conversations together in one place, helping businesses stay organized, responsive, and connected. They simplify your communication for an entire team, like maybe an entire team of podcasters trying to do a mock draft where they all make individual picks, make trades, then talk to the college host to get their take on it. Bringing everything all together sounds like a really nice thing if I would have had this when I was putting this together. I've been frustrated as a consumer. As I've called businesses, they don't respond to me. I'm probably going to go call somebody else. So you need everything together all in one place so you don't miss a customer like me. Money is on the line. Always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Number 23, the Atlanta Hawks, their second pick in the first round. Let's see where they go.
With the 23rd pick in the Locked On NBA mock draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Dalen Swain from Texas. Swain is a 6'7" wing/forward. Big time frame, the ability to really score and get to the rim that he showcased a lot at the college level, has real handle for his size, solid passing chops, defensively has all the tools you're looking for to be at least a passable or even as well as a plus defender at the NBA level. There's some questions about him as there would be for any pick at this juncture in the first round. Perimeter shooting is one of them. That might be part of why he was available at this slot. But I have personally Swain several spots higher than this on my personal board. It was a pretty easy kind of best player available selection with real upside and offensive creation upside in particular for the Hawks that they could certainly use at this slot. So at 23, the Hawks take Dalen Swain.
Dalen Swain, the wing out of Texas. Interesting pick. We thought about him for the Mavericks. He's rising up draft boards right now too, right?
He is to an extent. He hasn't necessarily risen that far up my personal board, but what I'll say about Dalen Swain is if he shoots it, he's going to make a lot of people look dumb who chose to pass on him because he is that talented of an athlete at 6'7" with great length. Another one of these guys who will thrive playing in transition in this Atlanta Hawks system. I'm hoping that the defense gets back to a level where he was at Xavier, which was arguably his calling card in his earlier days in college. Again, if that comes together, the 3-point shot comes together along with more of the ball handling and rim pressure and free throw drawing that he actually further developed, primarily as an on-ball scorer at Texas. He could be a really interesting wing player in this class. One of like the few wings in this 2026 NBA draft who I would have first round grades on. Not a good wing draft. So good for Atlanta to identify a guy who was falling down the board in this scenario and go grab him to be a part of the rotation.
Kingston Flemings and Dalen Swain. Fun combo for the Atlanta Hawks.
Up and down basketball, baby. Let's play transition with Jalen Johnson.
The NBA team that drafts Dalen Swain is getting one of the best two-way players in this entire class. What's up, guys and gals? BK with Locked On Longhorns. At 6'7", Dalen Swain has the size, athleticism, and versatility that NBA teams absolutely covet on the wing. This guy lives in the paint. He plays downhill. He can create for himself and others. He gets to his spots. He can finish through contact. He's smooth, and he's slithery. But again, not only did he lead Texas in scoring this past year, he also led the Longhorns in assists, rebounds, and steals. He's got a great feel for the game and an incredibly high basketball IQ. Defensively, high motor, jumps in passing lanes, gets steals. He is great on that end of the floor as well. If Dalen Swain is going to reach his ceiling, he's got to improve the jump shot. He did shoot 34% from three this past year, which isn't terrible, but if he's going to unlock his full potential in the NBA, he's got to get more consistent with the mid-range and outside shot. If he does, he could be one of the steals of this entire draft.
I like it. Next pick, the New York Knicks. Let's see where they decide to go.
With the 24th pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the New York Knicks select Isaiah Evans from Duke University. Evans perfectly fits the absolute juggernaut that the Knicks have built, which is based around spacing through three-point shooting, an ability to attack closeouts, keep advantages going, and obviously that competitive edge that they've become known for in these high-leverage situations. He adds an element that they need more of with deep-range three-point shooting to add a potential to open the floor up even more for Brunson, OG, and Towns. Isaiah Evans is a New York Knick.
Isaiah Evans going to the Knicks. What are the Knicks getting in Isaiah Evans?
Well, they're getting a player who could potentially step in and fill the exact same role that Landry Shamet's played for the Knicks, except this guy's much younger and he's more athletic. I think he can be a little bit better with the ball in his hands than someone like Shamet. I think he's going to have a little bit more defensive upside than some people may give him credit for. I know he's slender built, but he really competed on the ball defensively at Duke alongside some talented players and on some talented rosters. And that three-point shooting is legit. He is one of the best shooters in this draft class, and I think he can fill a very immediate need for the New York Knicks, more wing shooting. Everyone who steps on the court for the Knicks, they can shoot the basketball at a high level. Isaiah Evans doing the exact same thing.
Mitchell Robinson would disagree on
every non-big besides basically
Towns
everyone
would disagree.
All right, everyone but Mitchell Robinson, Nick. All right, everyone but Mitchell Robinson can shoot the cover off the ball.
Taking a look at Duke basketball's Isaiah Evans at the 2026 NBA draft. He's going to offer NBA teams one of the most coveted skills out there, elite shot making. The Duke wing possesses deep shooting range, a quick release, and a confidence to knock down shots in big moments. Go check out the game winner he hit for Duke against Florida this season, or coming onto the stage as a freshman, knocking down 6 3-point shots in his breakout moment for Duke against the Auburn Tigers a year ago. A fitting nickname for Isaiah Evans, known as Showtime Slim. He lives for the bright lights and big stage and plays his basketball at a high level. At 6'6", Evans has the length and athleticism to develop into such a versatile scorer at the next level and will continue to improve on the defensive end of the basketball floor as well. In a league that's built around spacing and perimeter scoring, Isaiah Evans is the right call. Showtime Slim, destined for Showtime success in the NBA.
Next team, the LA Lakers. They're up for the 25th pick. Let's see where they decide to go, who they decide to pair with Luka Doncic.
With the 25th pick, the Lakers select center Terrace Reed Jr. from UConn because he fills several needs for the team while also fitting the profile of an ideal big for Luka Doncic. Reed is a rim-running post threat who can score in a variety of ways in the paint, including as a lob threat for Luka. He averaged 9 rebounds per game during his senior year at UConn. The Lakers need a lot of help on the offensive and defensive glass. Defensively, Reed uses his legit size 6'10", 260 as a lane deterrent and a shot blocker, considered ready to contribute now by many scouts. And for a team like the Lakers that needs both back-end rotation depth and young but trustable athleticism, that's key. So welcome to the Lakers, Terrace Reed Jr.
Terrace Reed Jr. This is a guy I was hoping would drop to 30 for the Mavericks, but this is an interesting pick. The big out of UConn. What are the Lakers getting?
This might be my favorite pick that we've had so far in the 20s, primarily because I know that he doesn't fit the usual profile of high-flying, vertical athlete that Luka loves to play with in the lob game, but he does give the Lakers something that they haven't had, which is interior size that wants to defend and push people off the block and rebound consistently at both ends of the floor. After Lakers fans had the up and down roller coaster, that was the DeAndre Ayton experience after they've seen Jackson Hayes for multiple years. I think it's going to be a refreshing breath of air for a team to see a player like Reed step in and consistently be able to post up, assert his position on the low block, grab rebounds on both ends of the floor, finish at a high level, and set some great screens for Luka on the perimeter, free him up for even more of those step back threes that he loves to get to.
I love you getting like so energized for great screens.
It's what a big man's supposed to do, Nick. Come on. We need more guys who actually want to set screens and make the guards better.
Terrace Reed Jr. keeps getting better and better the more he plays the game of basketball. During the regular season, his final season in stores, just under 15 points, 9 rebounds per game. But then when the lights shined brighter, when the games mattered even more in March Madness, he upped his production to 19.5 points, 13 rebounds per game, including that epic 31-point, 27-rebound performance in the first round game. The first 30 and 25-plus game since the tournament expanded to 64 teams. Terrace Reed is not just a scorer. He's not just a rebounder, however. He is a great passer. He's got great vision. He has great touch on his passes, and that translates to the next level. Terrace Reed, with the consistency and with that passion and with that mindset and with that drive, as a player that's going to continue to get better and better as his career goes on and will be a factor in the NBA.
The Denver Nuggets now with the 26th pick. Let's see where they decide to go.
With the 26th overall pick, the Denver Nuggets are selecting forward Joshua Jefferson of Iowa State. The Nuggets may not use this draft selection due to possibilities of a trade upgrade or financial concerns, but if they do, Jefferson's a really excellent fit for many reasons. He's pro-ready, he's high IQ, he's a strong defender and passer, he's a 6'7" physical forward that does a lot of the little things that Nuggets fans would really love. And the Nuggets, they have free agency, trade, and injury concerns on their team at the forward spots with Peyton Watson, Cam Johnson, Aaron Gordon, and Spencer Jones. So Jefferson, if he had to play on day one, he could, which makes him a really good fit for this year's Locked On NBA mock draft.
Josh Jefferson, how do you like this pick as a guy that's now going to go play with Jokic?
Interesting pick to go with someone like Jefferson. I think they do need to add some more size and depth at the forward position in particular, because we know this team, Aaron Gordon notwithstanding, they're going to have to make some moves in that wing/front court spot. We hope they bring back a player like Peyton Watson. Cam Johnson might be on the move. So they needed to add a player at this position. And with Jefferson, he made a very strong impact for that Iowa State program. When he went down with that ankle sprain later in the season, the Big 12 tournament and the NCAA tournament, that team really felt his loss of presence. He's another one of these guys who can, dribble, pass, shoot a little bit. I question how athletic he's going to be and how that transitions at the NBA level. But if he can prove to be, 80% of the player he was in college, Denver could get a steal at this pick with Jefferson.
We may not have gotten to see everything Joshua Jefferson could do for Iowa State because he was hurt in the first game of his last NCAA tournament, but don't let that skew your opinion of the dominant big man. For Iowa State, he was one of the best players on the floor, not only last season, but the year prior as well. And the stat that stands out to me, 5 assists a game from the top of the key, from inside on the block. He was a key distributor of the ball, better than a lot of point guards in the entire country. And for Iowa State, he was absolutely crucial. When he had the ball in his hands and wasn't passing it away, he could bully his way to the rim, score on the inside, and was also incredible when Iowa State's offense wasn't great in the half court. He'd leak out and shoot a deep three. Always shocked me because it always went in, or at least it felt like it was a key part of Iowa State maintaining momentum in huge games. The one downside to Jefferson is his turnovers. At times, he loses control of the ball and it doesn't all pan out. However, I do think the positives outweigh the negatives, and Joshua Jefferson will be incredible in the NBA.
27, the Boston Celtics. Let's see who they decide to go with.
With the 27th pick, the Boston Celtics select Zuby Ejiofor because he can do a little bit of everything, and the Celtics kind of need one of those connective tissue guys, and hopefully a guy who can stick around for 5-6 years of this kind of remaining window in the Jason Tatum era. He's 22 years old. He's got an NBA-ready body. He can do a little bit of everything, and I'm hoping the Celtics can develop his jump shot. He can develop a couple of other skills that he has. He can make passes when he needs to pass. He can hit shots around the rim when he needs to hit shots. So I think he can contribute and contribute quickly. I don't know about right away, but pretty soon. And hopefully he develops enough skills to be maybe a fully realized Grant Williams type for a few years to come.
Zuby Ejiofor, this is a guy you recently mentioned. You like this pick for them then?
Oh, I love the pick, Nick. I love it because I love a player like Zuby who wants to defend all 5 positions on the court. He is every bit of the word nasty. You know, some people will look at his rebounding numbers not quite being up to par with where they've been earlier in his career. But, you know, that St. John's team that made a deep run under Rick Pitino, played with a lot of athleticism, had a lot of guys who wanted to rebound the basketball. Zuby, one of the best defensive playmakers at his position in this class, someone who I think could return top 15 value when we're going back and looking at this draft 3 to 4 years from now in a redraft.
We've got a trade, another trade on the, and we've got a second trade. We're going to combine these 2 trades, and essentially this is what's going to happen. The Indiana Pacers are getting the 28th pick in this draft. The Brooklyn Nets are getting the 29th pick in this draft, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are getting 4 second-round picks, essentially. The 2027 via Utah, 2028 most favorable of Indiana and Phoenix, 2028 second round from Atlanta, and the 2030 least favorable of Brooklyn, the Lakers, and the Celtics. You at home can decide what value though those picks are going to be to you. But now the next 2 we have up are the Indiana Pacers at 28, the Brooklyn Nets at 29, and then the Pacers are also getting the 33rd pick in this draft, which we won't do here in this mock. But let's go to the Pacers. They're up with a 28th pick.
The Indiana Pacers take Texas Tech's Christian Anderson at pick 28 in the Locked On Mock Draft for 2026. Tony East here. I host Locked On Pacers. The Pacers could use a pick quite badly. They currently have none in the real draft. They get one in this exercise because their youth pipeline's running a little dry. They're low on cheap young contracts, and they get one via 2 trades here. Christian Anderson, of course, a good fit for them. One, because he's just quite frankly talented. Shot it very well in his 2 collegiate seasons on volume this last season at Texas Tech. That, of course, a skill that he and everybody will hope translates. Also, just a decent offensive threat in many other ways. With the passing, his creation, his setup in general, certainly work to do as a general player, but that shooting, if it translates, makes him a very attractive prospect. And the Pacers could use any position of youth, really, but a point guard specifically, as TJ McConnell starts to age. He turns 35 this coming season, perhaps a spot where they'll need someone in the future. Pacers happy to get a first-rounder in the door. We'll have more on this on Locked On Pacers.
Nathan Grubel, I've done a few shows with you. I've followed your work. Christian Anderson is your guy. This has got to be a home run. This is maybe the best pick of the draft in your eyes.
He's not going this low. I can promise you that. This is a player who I valued this entire year. He's, in my opinion, the best shooter in this draft, arguably the best pick and roll playmaker in this draft. There's some people who have some concerns about his rim pressure and his turnover rate, but what I would say about Christian is every single thing that I want a guard to do, he can do it at an incredibly high level. This kid has potential star written all over him. This is a home run pick for the Indiana Pacers. I've been very positive during this mock draft exercise. How dare some of these other people let Christian Anderson fall this far in the draft? How dare them?
Well, you want to start calling out names? You want to go through different, like are we going back to the Pistons? Pistons needed a shooter.
No, this is a general. This is to everyone. This ain't just 1 or 2 GMs in particular. This is everyone. You do not let talent like this fall this far in the draft.
Unload the clip at all of them, Nathan.
Christian Anderson, point guard, I think floor general, high IQ. This is what we saw develop in Lubbock, Texas over the last couple of years. Phenomenal shooter. I think there's some argument to be made. Could he get to the rim enough? Could he break down defenders off the ball enough? But as far as leadership, IQ, being able to use angles and leverage and just make the right play that was needed at the time, hit a big shot, all there. Plays the pick and roll as good as anybody at Texas Tech that I had ever seen. He will be a very good pro because his brain is advanced enough to understand the way the game is played. He sees it before things happen. Anyway, so what the next level is getting is just a phenomenal floor leader.
The Brooklyn Nets are now up with the 29th pick.
With the 29th pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Kareem Lopez, 19-year-old forward out of the NBL with the New Zealand Breakers, and actually traded up to get this pick, made a trade with the Cleveland Cavaliers and gave up 33, a 2028 second-round pick via Atlanta, and a 2030 second-round pick, which is the least favorable of Brooklyn's, the Lakers, and the Celtics. So not too exorbitant a price to move up into the late first round and come away with Kareem Lopez, a player who has worked out for the Nets recently, a player who was
mocked or projected in the mid to late lottery by a lot of analysts, but fell. And there are some questions about Lopez's game. Doesn't necessarily have an elite skill, but does have a lot of things that he does well. And at 6'8", with a really strong, mature frame and only 19 years old, has fluid athleticism, fluid ball handling ability, decent shot making ability, shot 33% from three this past season with some room for projection there. So if he can click in some of the right areas, there is some upside at his size with his skill set, and he should be a piece if he develops who can be a complementary player to other stars.
Kareem Lopez going all the way down to the Nets at 29. I was concerned he wasn't going to get drafted at all in this after, some people have talked about him a lottery pick, maybe, higher than that. But what do you think about the Nets with getting Kareem Lopez here?
I think based on what we might see in the 2026 NBA draft, there will be people who think this is too low for a player like Lopez. But when we're talking to a guy like me who's grading out the talent and making these big boards, and I haven't been as high on Lopez as a player either, primarily because he doesn't have that one surefire strength that I can point to and say this is the skill that's going to get you on an NBA floor. He is 6'9". He has good length. He was played strong in the NBL, has a good motor. He'll make some of those hustle plays for you, but I don't love the ball handling. I don't love the perimeter shooting. So I just struggle to see what's going to make him return lottery value at the NBA level. I think drafting him, somewhere in the 20s is much more appropriate value in my opinion. So I think where he's going in this mock exercise in particular to Brooklyn, a team who has had some smoke connecting him to that organization, I think this is a smart pick for them. Absolutely in this range. This is a plus value pick.
I do have to push back on one thing you said. This is pick 29. This is a pick in the 20s. So they did end up doing what you said they should.
That's what I'm saying.
Now Brooklyn gets Kareem Lopez and they get Keaton Wagler, get some size on the wing, get some potential shooting with Wagler there. An interesting tandem and swinging on a guy in Kareem Lopez, I think late, which it follows your format of get a sure thing and then swing a little bit later.
Absolutely.
The last pick in our mock draft, the Dallas Mavericks. Let's go to my co-GM, Isaac Harris. Who are we going with the 30th pick?
At pick 30, the Dallas Mavericks round out the first round by taking Koa Pete out of Arizona. Listen, we were in Chicago for the NBA Draft Combine. We saw how broke the shot was for Koa Pete. But at some point, the value is too low, and right now, the value is too low. At pick 30, to get a prospect like Koa Pete, the athlete that he is, the defender that he is, the motor that he has, this is a Mike Schmitz pick. You take Koa Pete at 30 and bring him in with a Morez Johnson Jr. and a Buka Okori and say, hey, you're joining Cooper Flag, and these are some good young prospects. You can try to see what fits and what sticks with Cooper Flag moving forward.
Koa Pete drops all the way to 30. This was one where we were like, we had a couple of names on our list, and then all of a sudden I said, wait, Koa Pete has not been picked yet. This is a swing for the Mavericks after getting Morez Johnson and getting Ibuka Okori. We're like, all right, let's just swing for a guy that has been like a top 10 pick at some points in the draft process, but has fallen after the combine and some other things lately.
So Koa Pete is probably the number one player in this class for me who has fallen the most compared to where I had him preseason versus where I have him on my board now. I had him in that 7 to 9 range on my board preseason, but the jump shot is very much a concern. Nick, you saw it at the combine. It's not kind of broken, it's broken. And so a team will have to take on the
Somebody
exercise.
Messed with it. It was different.
We don't have to get into that story right now. It's a story for another time, but it is different. And someone's going to have to put in the developmental resources to actually rebuild it. It's going to take time, and that's going to be a project that a team is not going to take if that's their only first round pick that they're making. So now that Dallas has made 3 first round selections, this is a much more approachable place to take a player like Koa Pete, who, if they can figure out the jump shot, has a lot of other tools that benefit him. He's 6'7", 235 plus pounds, has good length, plays with a good motor, is another one of these guys who has seemingly just won everywhere he's went, like in FIBA play, in high school at Arizona. He's racked up a lot of wins, good character kid. I do think it's going to work out for him in the NBA to some degree. I just don't know how high the ceiling is without the jump shot. But Nick, you're getting him at pick 30. This is great value where he went.
Koa Pete may not be a fantastic outside shooter, which is in vogue in the NBA today right now, and rightfully so. But what he is, a rugged, physical competitor who is tenacious, scores well from 15 feet and in, able to defend multiple positions, slide his feet as well as be a sturdy enough force to defend on the low block, can score with the mid-range jumper, can get all the way to the cup. I see him in the NBA as someone who's a offensive hub, someone who is able to orchestrate the offense as a secondary initiator with gift of vision and diagnosing the defense when he draws the help. He sprays the ball out beautifully. And with more space in the NBA, I see some of his driving becoming more effective, as well as the ability to spray the ball out and have more creative freedom with the basketball being even more important. Koa Pete, elite athlete, 6'7", 245, can jump out of the gym, slide his feet defensively, can't shoot very well, could improve that, but what you're getting is a competitor and a winner. Mr. Arizona will deliver.
I feel good about the Mavs draft. Morez Johnson, Ibuka Okori, Koa Pete, a lot of, you're betting on athleticism in a big way. You're betting on guys that have some high upside in, all three of these guys. I love the trio. And this is the end of the NBA draft. We've done the ultimate mock draft. We've gotten picks from every single one of these teams. Go listen to Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings. Great stuff from them all the time. The No Ceilings draft guide, I'm using it like every single day as we go about covering these guys. And go listen to all these great shows. Links in the description to follow all these shows and hear what they said. They'll all have reaction shows on their feeds. So as you're listening to this later in the day today or tomorrow, they'll have reactions to all these different picks. Nathan, thanks for joining me. And guys, go listen to all these great shows. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA, the ultimate mock draft.